Joe Adams has signed for Bradford City on a season-long loan from Wigan Athletic. Let me know your thoughts on the signing in the comments down below, and all your thoughts that we're going to discuss in today's video. If you saw him at Morecambe or Wigan, also let me know your thoughts. Like the video if you're going to do so. Subscribe if you're new. On the road to 700 subscribers, all the support has been massively appreciated over the last few videos and weeks, as the content is coming quicker and faster. I'm aiming to do a lot more of it. So if you enjoy it, keep liking and subscribing and commenting, because it means that I know you like it. And maybe if you want to keep seeing more content, even if there's some great regulars always about, and if you do like it and you want to see more of it, I need a bit of convincing. So you might have to go and subscribe to your nan's iPad. Just get an iPad, give a quick red tick every video on it, little comment from Gren, and just say, great video. I might think it might be someone's nan who's sat there having a Werther's and a coffee, while she's dunking a Lotus biscuit in there. Hopefully she ain't as uneducated to have a rich tea. And let's talk there. And yeah. So if your nan's about, get her to subscribe, or your granddad, if you have one. So yes, hopefully that can be done. So yeah, any of you regulars, get your nan to subscribe to Renner's Bantams. It's massively appreciated. But Joe Adams, now I don't know if his nan will end up watching me. Hopefully not, because at some point Joe ain't gonna have a great game, is he? But hopefully there's many great games. So the tick box meter is 75%, because it's such an odd player. I haven't seen too much of him in person or live footage of games from Joe Adams, so it's a tough one for me. Whereas a lot of the players who've signed this season, I've watched quite a bit of games of them before. Maybe Shepherd and Sanderson didn't, but that just comes with the territory of loans. Let me know in the comments down below. Rank the 3 loans if you want in the comments. Let me know who your favourite loan signing is so far, even though we've seen more Shepherd and Sanderson to comment on. But what do I like about him as a player? How does he fit into a system? Now, system is 15. I mean, you can see it now. I'll put the tick box on now with the percentage. It is a 75% for Joe Adams, which makes him one of the highest. And what I like about him is he's a very energetic midfielder, quite pacey as well. He ain't slow. Compare him to Sarcevic and he'll look like Flash. So yeah, he's quite quick in that regard. Quite a skillful player, confident as well. Likes to get on the ball, turn, find space in the pockets. He's been described as a player who will get you off your seat. He plays sort of, like I say, in the pockets, looks to pick up the ball on the edge of the area, although I feel like for us he'll be a bit deeper, in that, sorry Mike, he'll be a bit deeper in the 10s, because it requires a high energy role, and you have to have a lot of stamina and energy, and I feel like that's why it suits our system in terms of that. And I was looking at his stats earlier, and in terms of attacking midfielders, sort of winger positions, he ranks very high in terms of his defensive numbers, in terms of tracking back, tackling, in terms of aerial duels, all that sort of stuff. He ranks quite highly compared to everyone else. So he don't shy away from the defensive side, which is always a nice thing to see. And that, like I say, that suits him. I think that's something that will have caught Alexander's eye, and everyone else who's involved in it. But Alexander, he likes those sort of characters, good mindset, who are team players and want to get back and track back. And I think that's why there's been a lot of rumours with Jake Young recently, and a bit of back and forth. Maybe Joe Adams coming here is because Jake Young's going to Wigan, although that doesn't look likely now, and Wigan fans didn't like the look of signing Jake Young, which is surprising to be reading, but they didn't seem to think he was the type of player they needed to sign as a striker, which to us City fans that would be quite baffling, because we're sort of on hands and knees, a lot of us, thinking it's a must keep Jake Young. And from what I've seen as well, it will look like we were trying to sign him all summer. We tried getting him involved in the Austria pre-season camp as well. So it is interesting to know why it's took so long, but that might be due to Wigan weighing up their loan offers and all other stuff like that, because as we know, it can take a while for loans to come in. So it'll be interesting to see how many more players come in, because I do feel when I look at the squad, we need a defensive midfielder to compete with Smallwood. That's a must. Striker, I think Oliver's not good enough, and his injury record and all that sort of stuff. But he'll only go if he, it will only bring in a replacement for him if he goes. So we'd have to move him on first with his injury. I don't think that'll happen. and Tyler Smith as well. You know, Jake Young, one of those will go, but we need to get one of them out anyway. And then the other one, if we get two out, that's because we're getting a replacement in. So I don't think a striker will come in now to compete with Andy Cook. I think we'll just settle with Oliver. Left wing back's the same situation. I think if Richards goes out on loan or we find a transfer for him, we'll bring in a left wing back that we all are craving. But I don't think that'll happen, so we'll have to settle with Richards, Tariq Wright and Clark Odra as the left wing back, unfortunately. So I think this is one of our last signings. We might have one more coming in, I'm not sure. But let me know how many more signings you think we're going to add. But last season for Morecambe, he started 17 games, only scored twice and didn't assist once. Like I said, high defensive numbers and surprisingly for ranking across his position, and surprisingly quite low chances created and sort of passing figures, which is not something you'd like to see. But when you put it in the context of Morecambe struggled most last season, they had good runs when they got towards the playoffs, but under Derek Adams, pragmatic, and then it sort of continued that pragmatic defensive style of play, obviously with a lot going on behind the scenes as well, very hard to focus. So it's a different system for him, and I think it'll be one where we can get the best out of him. And at Morecambe, you know, you're playing at a team that's down there. They're relying on individual moments, individual quality, and individuals stand out. Where I feel like with Joe Adams, I think he's the type of player who's more of a team player. He ain't an individual, and I feel like that will suit us more and our style of play. So yeah, there's some good positives to the signing. And like I said, the numbers don't look impressive, but I think it's more about the play and how we can develop him. And I think that's why we're going to probably happy that he's out on loan with us. Talking about developing him, now the competition is there. Is it healthy competition? Is it unhealthy competition? For me, it's unhealthy. You know, you look at Wadsworth, he'll go out on loan. Gilead's going. I think that's that's as obvious as, you know, you're going to get rain in a winter, I suppose. And then when you still look at that position with them two going out of it, you've still got 6 players in there, which is concerning. The 6'10s that we've got, Odra, Pattison, Poynton, Walker, Sarcevic and now Joe Adams, out of those 6, if you go with an 8 and 2'10, you know, you're still going to have 3 missing out on the matchday squad. Well, the playing squad at least anyway. And I just think that's unhealthy. And especially with Alexander, he's a manager who likes to stick with a winning team. And even when in so much a winning team, you know, he likes to give players a chance, and I'm all for that. But when you've got so many players in those positions, you know, it's very hard to do that, and it's very hard for players to get any form of partnerships going, chemistry going, and any form of real confidence as well. So I think it's unhealthy in that regard. Clark Odra and Alexander likes Odra. Sarcevic is his signing. Adams is now his signing. Pattison, you know, he's going to be starting and it's his big year. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking the only 2 other players who could move on are Walker and Poynton. And we know Walker isn't necessarily in Alexander's plans at the minute. And the fact that Walker also turned down the contract offer in May, seemed like he wanted to move on. He can still move on. So I think that's something that could maybe keep your eye on. And then there's Bobby Poynton, who I mentioned as well. And don't sleep on the fact that he's signed a new contract, because, you know, sign a new contract, his money goes up, then sell him. If someone's interested or there's offers coming in, you know, we're gonna look to move these sorts of players on, your Bobby Poyntons and your Jake Youngs, because we're a selling club. You know, it helps us massively financially. Whether you see it put into the football club, whether you see it on the playing pitch, wherever, you know, that money ends up going, it helps us in one way or another. Maybe not us as fans, but you know, it helps the football club. And we're a selling club, and that's what we're going to look to do. We see it with the youth players, so it'll be no different for the first team squad, except massively enhanced. And when you've got assets, you're going to look to move them on when you're Bradford City. So if there's people interested in Bobby Poynton, we're going to look to move him on. Whether, you know, he fully wants that move or not, he's going to want to better his career. McCall did it. You know, there's many other players who have as well, who are Bradford fans. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something more done with that towards the back end of a window. Don't sleep easy that Bobby Poynton's going to be staying. Although I think he's fully committed, you know, the club could have other ideas with that. Because I just think there's too many players for not one of those 6 to move on. I sort of skip past loan as well. It suits us, you know, any loan suits us as long as it works out. It's a 50-50 gamble. If it works out, it works out. Would have been nice as a permanent, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think his contract is up at the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see how he does with us. Maybe we'll look at that, and if Wigan look to renew his contract, if he becomes more of a key player for Wigan next season. It's a big season for Joe Adams as a footballer, to see where he's really at. So it'll be interesting, just to keep your eye on that as well. And any injuries, it's relatively unknown, like most of them. So it's like a 15 a tick. Obviously, Callum Johnson's had another setback as well, that we knew, but we chose to ignore again. But I think that's another video for another day. Unfortunately, we did ignore that. So Joe Adams is a bantam. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on him joining Bradford City on a loan until the end of the season. If there's any Wigan fans or Morecambe fans watching, feel free to let me know your thoughts from me and anyone else watching the video on Joe Adams in the comments down below. There's a little stat up on the screen now about Adams who have played for City. There's been 12 different Adams who have played for Bradford City, if I remember it right, but no Adams with the last name Adams. The only one being Derek Adams, who managed us but didn't play, and Joe Adams is the first Adams, the first Mr. Adams to play for Bradford City, which is a nice niche little stat from Bantam's Heritage. Do follow them on Twitter because they're a very interesting account to keep your eye on. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on Joe Adams. Do you think he'll be a success? Rank him compared to the other two loan signings. Where does he compare with the other signings? Jake Young as well. Callum Johnson being injured. There's been a bit that we talked about. Let me know your thoughts. Give me an out of 10 on Joe Adams. Like the video if you did. Subscribe if you're new on the road to 700 subscribers. All support is massively appreciated. Have a good one.